Hello and welcome to our webinar on how to build an engaging event website with Ticket Tailor and Plot. Thanks to everyone that's joined us so far. I'm going to be carrying on with our introductions and hopefully a few more of you will join in the meantime. So today we're going to be taking you through 9 best practices for creating an engaging event website that helps event organizers like you to sell more tickets. We'll then show you a demo of the Ticket Tailor and Plot integration and show you some examples of what your website could look like. We'll also be running a Q&A at the end of the session. So if you have any questions, please pop them in the Q&A chat function and we'll be answering those at the end. And finally, before we head over to the panel introductions, I did just want to share an exclusive offer with you all. So to celebrate our integration with Plot, we're giving everyone who joins our webinar live today a special £300 discount off your Plot website. We'll be sending around a link after this by email, and it'll give you an application form that you need to fill in before the end of June. And there'll be some more kind of details in that email. So without further ado, I'm now going to introduce you to the panel, kicking off with myself. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Olivia, and I'm the head of marketing at Ticket Tailor. And Ticket Tailor is a global event ticketing platform that helps event creators to sell tickets online. We're known for our industry-leading low flat fees, simple and intuitive platform, powerful features, and last but not least, our approach to business, growth on purpose, which means that we aim to have a positive impact on people and the planet as we grow. So I've been at Ticket Tailor now for over 2 years, and prior to that, I worked as the head of brand and comms at Mindful Chef. And most recently, you might have noticed that our marketing website had a lick of paint last week. And that's actually a project that I've led for the last 12 months. So it's safe to say I've got quite a bit of experience now in building websites, and hopefully I can share some of that knowledge with you all today. So that's enough from me. I'm now going to hand you over to my colleague, Rio.
Hello, I'm Rio. For those of you that don't know me, I'm head of customer experience at Ticket Tailor. So yeah, my day to day is talking to a lot of event organizers, learning from you and bringing back your feedback to make sure that we're building the best ticketing website that we can. And yeah, I'm excited to talk more about what I've learned from you about building successful event websites.
Yeah, I'll go next. My name's Christian. I'm a co-founder of Plot along with Michael. My job as strategic director, I'm really in charge of making sure that Plot heads in the right direction to make a product that's perfect for market. It's a great fit, and yeah, my job is also to make sure that our customers get the very best from Plot and get the very best experience they possibly can. Over to you, Michael.
Yeah, Michael, I'm co-founder and CTO of Plot. I've got a big, long history of 20 years in the music and events industry as a musician and a designer, and then into brand, and then in the website side of things. And really love the idea of being a champion for event organizers and helping them reduce the amount of time they need to spend working on websites. I'm an absolute website geek. I love admin areas. I love working on something that creates meaningful change to people, and being able to make a system that means that my customers can stop having to be in an admin area so much and just promote events and concentrate on the things that they love is something that's really exciting to me.
Brilliant, thanks all. So just as a reminder, we are answering any of your questions at the end of the webinar, so please keep on typing them in the Q&A section throughout. And now I'm going to hand over to Christian, who's going to kick off the 9 best practices for creating an engaging event website.
Absolutely, thanks. So number 1, choosing the right platform for you. I think this isn't just platform, it's also it's the who, it's the agency, it's the freelancer. There's lots of choice out there, and whether you're a small festival or a large event, you might be thinking of moving ship because your website's not performing. You might be, I don't know, starting a new event. Whatever stage you're in, you're obviously going through that dilemma of what to build it in and who with. And that does somewhat depend on your size and the size of your team. You might want something that's, if you're smaller, that's a bit more kind of done for you, where You don't have to do too much to get things going, versus a bigger team where, you know, you've got more resource, you can be a bit more involved in the build, you can have more time to spend on it. I think when buying anything, and we all do this in life, there's three core things that you'll be worrying about, and the first one of those is cost. Cost is important because, and value, but let's stick with cost. Cost is important because sometimes what you see is not always what the cost is, and I think it's really important that you look at sunk costs and ongoing costs. You might go for something that is fairly cheap or really good value looking to start with, but actually the sunk costs of doing extra work and getting it up to the place you want to be, or ongoing costs, can be quite high. And so actually the value isn't quite what you perceived. I think the second thing to think about is speed. I guess if you're planning correctly, speed doesn't necessarily become a problem, but you might want something quick. You might have something that needs doing quickly. So that's another thing that you need to consider. And then I think the most important one is quality. And with quality, what we're talking about here is that you have something that grows with you, that is easy to use, that has a feature set that suits what you're doing, has a good look and feel, and has the relevant integrations. So I think to summarize this slide, I think what I'd say is that the key things to really consider when you're choosing the right platform or who to do your site is one, flexibility. We all know that a festival site isn't the same as a normal business. It changes, it morphs. So you want something that can change with your phases. Ease of use is crucial. Can you make changes yourself? Can you do things timely and quickly? It's really important that you can do these things and not have these additional costs that take time. And I think the final one is to have a feature set that suits your type of business. So to have the features in that suits an event. And I think the same is true for ticketing. So you need to work that out for your ticketing platform as well. And you know, delays to change affect engagement. So it's important to have a ticketing platform and a web platform that suits your needs. Over to you, Ria.
Thank you. So yeah, those are all great points. And just another thing that you can do is to start to think about your brand as a whole and where it sits on the internet. So for this, I'd recommend creating a custom URL. And then once you've done that, you can start tracking it for your marketing. So we know that most event brands have come up with a really creative brand name or festival name or event name that really tells your customers who you are. Your ticket buyers really know you by that name. And obviously you want a professional looking site. So setting up your custom domain name to mirror your brand is really important. It's going to build trust in your events. And when people are looking at your tickets, they're not going to be worried about who am I buying this from. What I really like about the integration that we've got with Plot is that you can host your Plot website and your Ticket Tailor checkout on the same domain. So if you're putting ads out there to drive people to your ticket sales, you can track that across one domain and easily see how effective your marketing's been. And also, ticket buyers won't notice the Ticket Tailor software in the background when they're buying their tickets and won't think, oh, is this a scam? Which is obviously something ticket buyers are more and more aware of. So keeping your website on a custom domain for loads of reasons is a really great idea. So that's definitely something I'd recommend looking into. And yeah, integration is a really good way to set that up in a couple of clicks. It's really easy.
Yeah, I'll talk a bit about brand. I think so. There's a few things about brand. To start with, I want to talk about imagery and video and showing content from previous events. And I think there's a lot of the time with an event site, imagery and video is key. If you've put on an event in a previous year or at a previous point in time, you should have a big arsenal of amazing material that can be front and center and be a big key part of the brand, because there's nothing better than imagery and video to show that off. If it's your first event, sometimes you don't have that anything yet, and you can rely on some stock photography or some great graphics to be able to like compensate for the time being. And there's some great sites like Unsplash that give you amazing stock photography for free with accreditation ready for you to be able to use, which is a really good stopgap. But it's worth thinking now about when that event's on for the first time, being able to make sure you have a photographer or a videographer for that event ready to be able to capture stuff for your website. Because the website without great imagery and video is always going to be a little bit lacking and pull away from your brand a bit. So it's worth putting in that time to be able to like commission someone to be able to come and take those shots. And it doesn't need to be expensive. It can be something that you can easily slot in as long as it's planned in advance. And then you can have a huge collection of material to use on your website for years to come. With the brand guide itself, you might hear the term brand guide, you might be really familiar with it, or it might be a bit unfamiliar. Normally there's a rule set of collection of brand rules, which are really good to have in place. It's like alongside your logo, it's like colors and fonts and spacing and stuff. Sometimes you're not in a position to commission an entire brand guide and it's just too time consuming, but it's always worth thinking the reason why people do that is just about consistency. So if you can't do that, just settle on colors, fonts, spacing rules and stick to them and use the same ones everywhere on all of your social profiles and your ad material and your website. If there's a consistency throughout all of the online material that you do, it elevates a brand from looking okay to being something that looks incredible. So consistency is key. And I'll carry on talking. I think so. Messaging is something so the website itself is all about messaging, and you can see what websites that work well and ones that don't. And really, I would say one of the main issues that people tend to do when they're putting together content themselves is just over writing and over explaining. So I find it a really useful exercise to do this, and we're always advising this, which is think about what resonates with your audience and what makes your event stand out and why people would want to attend. Think of all the key information that people need, like the dates, times, artists and lineups and bios, all of this information. Step away from a website and any platform and just work in a word processor and just write down everything that an audience needs to see when they visit the site. And then write out your content away from the platform and then leave it for a day. Don't look at it and then come back to it. And then when you come back to it, you'll realize you've got sentences that are completely pointless that you can cull. So you go through a process of editing yourself. I don't need to say this. This is pointless. This is repetitive. And you can do this a few times and you end up with a really condensed collection of key messages and none of the waffle. So you can end up with a homepage which you thought needed to be 600 words, but actually ends up being like 300. And then you end up with something that's really snappy and really gets down to business really nice and quickly. And people don't get bored when they look at the site. And ultimately they can see all the key messaging and it helps to get to conversion. It helps people get to that ticket point. And it also reduces customer service time because people see the key information rather than being inundated with loads of text everywhere and then not reading anything. So constant editing and just constant cull everything that you do is a great way to really get that messaging right.
Yeah, I totally agree with that one. I was just going to jump in to say as well, one thing I particularly enjoy doing myself, not specifically for events, but for example, for the Ticket Tailor website, is also just keeping my finger on the pulse with other competitors out there as well and seeing what kind of messaging resonates with their audiences and just making sure that you've got kind of enough standout is something that I particularly have found useful as well. But back to you with the CTAs.
Yeah, well, this follows on really, because when you've spent all of this time perfecting your messaging, you end up with some key things that you want your customers to do. And a lot of the time with an event site, it's pretty simple. It's a buy tickets button or it's a check out all the listings button so you can see all different events that are upcoming. So in some ways that can be really nice and simple, but it's worth spending this time thinking about what the key CTAs are on your site and how you can actually present them. So buy tickets, there's some really common logic of where you put these on a site these days. Top right on a desktop, fixed to the bottom on a mobile. Being able to have a buy tickets button is such a great way to do things. But then there's, on top of that, you might elevate these kind of CTAs with countdown clocks or limited availability, like timely notifications and special offers. So having a website which can pull off putting on your core CTAs of buy tickets or FAQs, read information, contact, that's really important, but it's really worth just thinking ahead. Like you've got this marketing period coming up that might be all the way up to an event, or you might be running a venue that you have events all year round. But throughout the year, you might have some ideas of what your CTAs are going to be. A really great example is that you might have an on-sale event where you want to do a big announcement with countdown clocks beforehand and then a notification. And then you're selling tickets. So then this main CTA is always sell tickets, sell tickets, sell tickets. But then you might sell out and then your website changes its purpose. So you might want to switch things to being about finding out key information to reduce customer service inquiries. So if your website has been planned in advance and is ready to change those CTAs out when you need to, it can really cut out annoying time that you have where you have to ask someone to make some changes or wait for those changes to happen, or be stuck with what you've got because you can't change things. So thinking about your CTAs like all year round, all the way through this little marketing cycle is a great way to be able to just predict what you're going to do and make sure that your website is flexible enough to change over time.
Yeah, so on to SEO. I think a major point here before I jump into this is to not sacrifice usability over SEO. Gone are the days where you just write as much copy on a page and stuff it full of keywords. The key is to make something that your users love, want to use, signposted in the right way. But there are some basics to do as well, particularly for websites. The first one of those is just on-page metadata. So most platforms now have the ability to put metadata inside each page where you want to be doing the basics. So H1 tags, header tags, putting alt text on images, etc. The second thing to do is to make sure that your site loads fast. One of Google's big kind of algorithm updates was wanting to rank sites that are quick, that are good for usability. So make sure that your images are compressed, make sure that your videos are compressed, make sure that your pages are, loading fast. The third thing to do is mobile optimization. So to make sure that your mobile experience is first and foremost for mobile search. Again, this is about putting alternative images for mobile, alternative videos, making sure everything's compressed. And then the final thing is to just list good quality event details alongside your event. Google and other search engines pick up on these and will favor events that are fully listed versus ones that aren't. And then I think, a couple of other things that we found are very useful at Plot is to sync your events to the Google event listings on Google. This allows Google to grab your listings and pull them into any relevant event searches and show up within that search. And I think the final thing, and it's very overlooked actually, and something that's really crucial, is that you should be archiving your events, not deleting them. So once you've had an event or you've had a festival, archive that information, build on top of it. You've got good quality search for that event. Don't lose it, and make sure you utilize that.
Yeah, and following on from what Christian was just saying about loading times, it's something that's really important for Google and whatnot. They judge it very harshly if you have a slow loading site, but then so do real people. The search engines are just trying to pretend to be real people as best as they can. So if you've got a site that is taking a bit too long to load or kind of crashing out or being glitchy, it can be such a pain, and it can ruin all of this hard work that you've done making a website look great. You've probably got a site which is very image and video heavy. It's something that they're not lightweight sites. They need to be really visual. So you need to be able to have a platform that can, first of all, like lazy load images, so you only see which ones are at the right time. Like compression is really important, like making sure that the images end up really small compared to how they've been uploaded. And also there's some really nice things that you can look out for, like being able to deliver different images and video for mobile versus the desktop. So you can have smaller things loading on phones than you do on the desktop, and alternate imagery showing on the phones compared to the desktop. Feature sets like that are really worth looking into and requesting when you're trying to find the right platform for you. I would say that the other part of this is actually just to do with hosting. Like if you're using a platform like Plot or a site builder, something that rolls things out like Squarespace or something, you're in safer hands with sites loading really fast and being able to handle like big spikes in traffic because they're set up on platforms that are ready to roll. If you're commissioning something a bit more bespoke, like speaking to a freelancer or an agency, it's really worth making sure that you can read through what kind of hosting is being offered, and you don't have something which is just fast at certain points in time, but then when you're about to do ticket announcements, things start to stutter and slow down because that can drastically impact sales. So you want things to be like really fast at all times, even during like peak sudden spikes in traffic.
I'll jump in here to talk about flexibility. So something that we've been talking about a lot when we were, coming together as Ticket Tailor and Plot is about how both of our platforms are really designed with event organizers in mind. Like we've all talked to tons of event organizers in our time, and we understand that you've got so many things going on. You're probably a small team, maybe you're just one person building a marketing website and running an event and probably working with a venue, and you've probably got emails coming from all angles. So it's a really useful thing to have a very flexible setup. I think Christian touched on it a little bit earlier and some of his points, but when you're adding things to your lineup, if you're a festival, you want to be able to do that really quickly. Or on the ticketing side of things, if you've sold out of your first venue, so you've got a bigger venue and you want to add extra allocation, you want to be able to make those changes really quickly without having to go through a web developer that's going to take time making that change on your ticketing site to then actually be able to sell those tickets. So what's really great about both of our platforms coming together is that you can make those changes really quickly, and that automatically, if you're making ticketing changes, it can automatically update in Plot. Obviously, that's not going to be the solution for everybody. We hope it will be a solution for a lot of you. But whatever platform that you choose, if you're a smaller team, I think flexibility is really important so that you can make any changes quickly. And also your marketing website is going to be the main point that people go to when they look for questions about your event. So if you are answering FAQs and that kind of thing on your website, being able to add those in, you've got 5 phone calls about how to access the event, maybe you want to add that to your T's and C's, being able to do that quickly is just going to be a benefit for you and your ticket buyers. And yeah, the last one, it's an event website. So at the end of the day, it's there to sell tickets to your amazing events. And what's really important is that your website is going to be the best ticketing website it can be. So a big part of that is making sure that your tickets are easy to buy from your website. So is that CTA, that buy ticket CTA, in the right place? Are people able to buy it on a laptop? But more importantly, we're seeing more and more sales come through people's mobiles. So is it going to look just as good? Is it going to be just as easy to buy tickets from a mobile? Obviously, with Ticket Tailor, we've got a lot of features that work with loads of different websites, which is all mobile enabled as well. Things like our embeddable widget and our filterable calendars. They're all really easy to access from a mobile. And yeah, we always focus on performance, so making sure your tickets are always available as well. So if tickets are really easy to buy, people have no excuse not to buy them from you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Rio. Thanks, Michael and Christian as well for that. So we've come to the end of the 9 tips that we were sharing about building an engaging event website. I just wanted to do a quick reminder of our exclusive offer. This will be sent round by email with a really simple link to a form at the end of this. So you don't need to do anything right now, but it will get you £300 off a Plot website. So without further ado, we will now go into a demo. Made a new word up. We'll now go into a demo showing exactly how the integration works. So how Ticket Tailor and Plot work together to help you build the best website?
Yeah, so I'll just spend a little time for those that don't know Plot or are coming to it quite fresh. I'll do a little bit of an introduction to the platform here, and then I'll share my screen and I'll talk through some sites that are up and running on Plot, ones that we've launched recently, ones that we're really proud of, so I can show you how it can work in reality. And I can also show you the feature set and a bit of the admin area and how it works, and give you a little overview of everything, and also how we integrate completely effortlessly with Ticket Tailor. So your box office will automatically pull through to your site without you having to do anything at all. So Plot is an all-in-one platform for creating best-in-class, fully featured event websites, and they're all delivered in just 1 week. And 1 week sounds like a very short amount of time. You might have some experience with agencies or freelancers that take maybe 1 to 2 months kind of thing, if you're going well. Or you might be working on, you might be doing it yourself using a site builder, like where you could, with Squarespace or Wix, you might be able to get something simple up nice and fast. But for a fully fledged site, you probably end up taking more like the kind of 6 weeks to 8 weeks kind of mark as well. So we've managed to reduce all of this down into 7 days, but with 2 methods really. The first thing is that we have a unique platform that's designed specifically for the event industry. So it has all of the features that you need ready to go. But on top of that, we have this unique onboarding process where we start off with a questionnaire that we work collaboratively with. It takes about 15 to 30 minutes for you to fill in, and we collect every bit of information that we need to get your site up and running. So it's like brand information, like logos and spacing and fonts and colors and graphics and photos, and we collect all of this in one go. And then also like who you're trying to appeal to, what your main USPs are, bits of information about what your main call to actions want to be, the page structures that you want, the pages, the features. So we collect all of this in one go in a really nice condensed way. So we've gathered every bit of information that we need to make an amazing website for you nice and quickly without lots of back and forth, lots of meetings. So we collect all of that in one go. Then it's over to our dedicated design team who will make this custom, beautiful looking site ready for you to be able to launch all within 7 days, including with the Ticket Tailor integration. So we'll collect your box office information and get the pages set up for you. So you have these what's on listings or ticket pages all ready to go live with. And then we'll do a handover and it's ready for you to populate with content and push live whenever you want. So the whole process has been reduced into this really small 7-day window to drastically reduce the time that you need to spend, but still make some really cool looking sites that'll look and feel uniquely you. And I will share my screen so we can talk through some of those in more detail. So I'll just share this window here. So I think firstly, I wanted to get up a few of the sites that we're really proud of that are running off the Plot platform. So Moseley Folk and Arts Festival, been with us for a number of years, beautiful brand, folk and arts brand, and Plot manages to pull off a really beautiful looking site based on their brand completely. You'll see you'll notice I've got a lot of tabs open. I'm going to whiz through a few different sites because I really want to show off, even though Plot is a platform, it isn't restricted creatively, and no matter what your brand is, no matter what kind of event or venue you're trying to pull off, you can make something that feels really uniquely yours. So I've got a collection of sites up here, sites that we're really, really happy with, like Mighty Hoopla, which is down in London, where it's a completely different identity and all about crazy flamboyance and colours. And then we have We Out Here, which is Giles Peterson's one down in Dorset. So another really nice large event that's got a really nice brand style. And again, within 7 days can all just be put together and ready to go on the Plot platform. It also works for venues and promoters. So you have this really nice simple system so that you can, if you have many events upcoming in a calendar, you can make some really beautiful branded sites that way. So these guys are an arts gallery as well as a metal venue over in the States. And yeah, so we've got a few others here. I think for now, just as I whiz through these, it's worth just noting that even if you're a really large name or you're a really small independent venue or a small event owner, it can really make a site that looks and feels great for you. And we collect all of this information, gather it all up for you, and be able to like box it up and ready for a handover within that 7-day point, like no matter what your identity is. So hopefully you can see that there's a really there's a huge range of different things that it can pull off, and creatively we are not limited at all. We can make something that really feels like you've worked for a long time with a bespoke agency making something really powerful for you. So yeah, these are all the sites. I think it's quite useful just to go through some of the features that we have. So I've got this site up here, Amber Festival, which is a little demo. We have this hooked up to Ticket Tailor as well. This site is like a kind of a destination style festival, so it's got artist listings and also accommodation and boat party add-ons and things like that as well. Over here you can see the artist listings. This comes up quite regularly, so it's not just for music artists. It's sometimes there's like family events that want to have like different performers taking part. We've also got things like literary festivals where there's some speakers taking part, or comedy festivals, that kind of thing. So it's great for being able to showcase different artists upcoming. And as we do a handover with you, we will have this all built and ready for you to go based off your own specifications. They have bios built into it, so it's a really nice way for you to be able to like populate press bios and some more information about when things are going on, including like it's really easy to like put embeds in from different sources and social media references, so you can create some really nice, rich, detailed bios. And you'll see this one's set to be filtered by genre, but sometimes we filter by the day people are performing or the type of artist, if there's like speakers and comedians and music and food. And it's a really great way to be able to like split and allow people to be able to browse through listings, especially if you're the kind of event where there's a lot of discovery going on. I think sometimes when there's like food vendors, it's really nice to be able to browse through those kind of things and let people use the website to get excited and discover things on it. There's many ways to show off listings within Plot. So artists is one of them, but sometimes people want a more like traditional kind of print style stage breakdown. So if you are the type of event that has multiple stages or multiple locations, you can create these kind of views where you have events upcoming and they can all be individually ticketed, but you show them automatically populating into these really nice, unique looking views that create some really nice like stage breakdowns and allow people to see clashes in their calendar of things that they want to see. There's also, I'll go into event listings a lot more, but there's also some other really useful just baked in common features, like your FAQs are super easy to generate. You can populate it really nice and easily, and they can auto categorize, and you can create some really nice looking pages. You can also, don't read so much of this fake content in here. You can also like embed FAQs into anywhere else on the site. So they're not just on the FAQs page themselves. You can put those on the homepage, or sometimes people will create articles and put FAQs underneath them. All great ways to really do something which is really important on the website, which is just drastically reduce customer service inquiries and stop you having an inbox which is getting in the way of your happiness. So drastically reducing that time is really important. So having like clear messaging and really easy to generate FAQs is really important. We talked a little bit before about timely call to actions. This Mosley, which we looked at just before, have got this kind of up and running ticker going on. There's loads of nice ways in Plot to be able to put in these marketing messages of different announcements of like tickets on sale or pop-ups, doing competitions. All of this is really easy to edit and manage yourself, and it's baked into the system, so it'll be all in your brand and all look and feel great, and it won't interfere with page load speeds or anything like that. So there's lots of nice tools to be able to do these kind of timely CTAs. And then it's worth noting here, there's things like the newsletter sign up, which we hook up to various services like MailChimp and things like this as well. But just being able to create forms yourself becomes quite empowering when you've got a website, because forms can be a bit clunky and pesky to put in place in different places. So you can put in forms anywhere that you want. You can make new forms off into the future if you have like volunteer sign up forms or competitions or more elongated style contact forms where you need to be able to do press inquiries and things like that. So forms are one of these things which often they haven't been thought about on the launch of the event so much, but like 3 months down the line, you need to be creating some new form, and having one where you could really easily create a form and put it in anywhere that you want and hook it up to your CRM of choice is a really powerful thing to be able to do as well. And now, yeah, I will talk about ticketing, because this is one of the most important aspects of these sites. So I will just hop over to the Ticket Tailor dashboard temporarily. And before, we were looking at this site, Amber, which is one of our demo sites set up. So this is the version. So if you've got a festival or an upcoming event on Ticket Tailor at the moment, this will be a vaguely familiar site. You might have one event upcoming at the moment, and you've got all of your details in here. And you might have painstakingly gone through and created something with a lot of detail, from early bird tickets through to like day tickets and concessions and things like that. So when all of that's in place, you don't really want to have to be redoing any of that on the website. You don't want to have to worry about how you can place that on the site. So Plot itself is ready to go. So as we would work on this site for you, we would get all of this information from you. And then as we'd hand over the site within this 7-day period, you'd end up with your own bespoke tickets page, and it would pull through your Ticket Tailor details. So you'd have all of your ticket information coming through exactly as you want, and any changes that you make on the Ticket Tailor side automatically change here and just run. These will all look and feel totally on brand for you. And not only that, but the tickets pages themselves are very editable, and you can be adding in lots of other aspects. So you might have things which are slightly outside of the typical ticketing routes, like accommodation or travel passes, or things like merch and things as well that people like to put in place around here. So you not only do you have the power of the Ticket Tailor box office coming through and already set up for you, but you've also got this ability to be able to create and morph some quite unique looking pages ready off into the future. And we'll have this ready for you, so you don't have to fiddle around with embeds or working out repetitive content at all. It's all set up for you as part of the 7-day service. So this is like a standalone event, and you'll see, I know we talked about CTAs quite a lot. This is set up to show tickets up in the top right and take you through to that page. Plot is also really good for promoters and venue organisers. So I've got an example of one here, which we briefly looked at before. So with this kind of website, where you don't just have the one event, you've got lots of listings and people want to browse. You often end up with the main CTA being this kind of what's on calendar. So if I head over to this, you can see a good example of it. So with Plot, we have these really good platform to be able to create beautiful what's on listings, but they're also completely customizable. So we would edit these so that they look and feel totally on brand for you, ready to go. And you have like the main listings, you've got lots of nice filter options. This one's set up just to show a nice simple date filter really, but you've got some really good options for being able to filter by genre or location if you're doing them in multiple locations, or just your own tags of any type. There's lots of nice different ways to be able to display listings, like these kind of grid views or list views. And this is something that the power is there, but during the process, our design team will listen to what type of website you need and be able to decide these for you. So it's just ready for you to go. You can always change them off in the future, but we like to give people this bespoke service where it's ready to go based off our own design expertise. Another real big benefit of these kind of pages is that you end up having your own unique listing pages. A lot of the time people want this for SEO benefits, but also so that you have this branded experience where you have lovely landing pages set up with ticketing information all on the site. And another thing that comes up for venue owners and promoters quite often is that they want to be able to do like highlighted featured shows, like you can see here, but also like upcoming shows in like a grid, so like an automatic list of all the upcoming shows. So these are like really common features that come up for event sites. And they can be a real ordeal for you to build yourself or commission someone to build. It can end up quite costly, and it's difficult to get right with filters, and you can end up with a slightly clunky system. And often you are in the back of you've got your stuff already set up on Ticket Tailor. So if I just switch over to this venue. So I've got the Canvas Arts venue set up here. So you might have already set up lots of upcoming events on the platform already. So you have a big list, a big collection of all, which you've put a lot of time and effort into making big descriptions and information and all the key information and imagery. So you've populated all of this within Ticket Tailor. You don't want to have to use the website and repopulate everything and do everything again from scratch. You want something that just automatically works. So this demo site here, this is set up to populate directly from Ticket Tailor. So everything that we've just seen automatically comes through the site, and you don't need to do anything on the website at all. So we'll configure this to be in your brand and just work totally seamlessly, pulling through everything that you do on Ticket Tailor and creating these really beautiful on-brand listing pages ready for you to do what you want with from a marketing perspective, without you having to do any content in the admin area at all, which can be really transformative. I'll show off a couple of other things before we finish off, but I think the really important thing is that no matter what, if you're a venue or if you've got just a single event coming up, or you're a promoter with lots of different events, you have something which you can just continue to use Ticket Tailor, run the box office like normal, and it'll automatically pull through to the website without you having to do anything at all. And that's a really powerful feature, and should be quite transformative for how much time you need to spend in an admin area. I'll do a little bit of a glimpse of the admin area. So this is our main plot dashboard. So one thing that's really important for us to explain to people is that whilst you get this site within 7 days and it looks and feels great and it's all ready for you to just fill with some content and push live, we want something that you can use throughout the year, throughout the marketing cycle, ongoing. And with an event website, it's often something which drastically changes. It's very elastic. Sometimes you're launching with just a small message about an announcement, and then you bring in lineups, and then you bring in food vendors, and then more information, and then schedules and stuff later. Like, the site builds and builds and builds and expands, and post-event it often shrinks down to like a thank you for attending and a sign up for the following year, and then it grows again. So you have this thing which contracts. So because of that, you do need to have an admin area that's designed very carefully to be able to allow you to do everything that you need and nothing that you don't in terms of promoting events. So we've spent a long time just polishing up all of the features that event owners need. You can see here, I won't go into this in too much detail here, but we can always arrange demos, and we'll talk about that later. But you've got the like key features here, like editing the homepage and artists and listings, creating articles and managing your own users. You've got a lot of tools which mean that you can manage this DIY without having to speak to other people long into the future, like managing your own search and social, managing your own scripts, so you can put in different tracking scripts over time, managing all your timely notifications. There's a lot of features in here which mean that you can just manage this yourself, create new pages, create new landing pages for marketing tasks, and off into the future have something which is just working for you, and really just taking the smallest amount of time out of your day to be able to manage it. Documentation in place is one of the big things for us, so you don't have to refer to anything else. Everything in here is explained. So every single page on a plot site is built out of this plot layouts collection. So every site that you've seen so far is built out of all of these blocks, and we provide these really nice intuitive guidances, like within the admin area, built out of all of these blocks and features which are perfect for promoting events. There's things like content columns and featured artists and image block links, being able to put in countdown clocks and forms wherever you want. You can put in like FAQs and partner logos and things like text lineups, where there's a tiered system of lineup announcements, which is perfect for festivals. So we've designed these over time in collaboration with event organizers. Like, all of this is based on feedback and requests from people that are running events. And we're always adding to this big catalog of plot layouts, ready to be able to expand all of the tools that you have to be able to make lovely pages. So when we are back on a site like this, and you're looking through how this page has all been put together, it's all totally editable. You can chop and change layouts to your heart's content, and you can change the site quite drastically yourself over time. We're always here, as part of our service, is to give advice and to help suggest on what a nice layout is and how you can do things. But you've got the power to be able to morph this and work with this off into the future without needing to speak to anyone else. The final thing that I wanted to mention in terms of plot ongoing is that every year we do check-ins with our customers. We see if the brand's been updated. Sometimes with like an event and a festival, there's like quite a big change brand wise. Sometimes with our venues, there's smaller changes, but it's about tidying things up. But we'll go through and do an appraisal of the site, tidy things up, bring in new features, update the brand, update the messaging, and get things ready for the following year. So things are always up to date and fresh. There's never that vibe of you've got a site that feels a bit leggy because it's a couple of years old. There's something that we're giving constant attention to make sure the site's as strong and powerful as it needs to be. for the long term. So that's a little overview of Plot and how we integrate with Ticket Tailor, and there could well be lots of questions around that. But I think the useful thing to know for now is that we can deliver these sites incredibly quickly. We can get things out of the door without you having to do much heavy lifting on your side. The sites can look and feel amazing. The Ticket Tailor integration is automatic, so you don't need to do any work on your side. And it sets you up with a site with an admin area that's designed specifically for the events industry. So it's super easy to make all the changes that you need for your marketing needs for the long term. And I'll stop sharing.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Michael. That was a really, really thorough demo, and it was obviously great to see a lot of different examples of websites that have been built with Plot, which is really cool to see. So as promised, we'll now go on to Q&A and answer some of the questions that have been coming through, but please do keep sharing your questions. I'm just going to kick things off. I'll dive straight into it. So we've had a question asking, can you create custom Ticket Tailor links? So I'm going to let Rio take the lead on this one.
You're on mute, Rio.
Sorry about that. I think this question came in when we were talking about custom domains. I saw it pop up then, and sort of tracking that through your Plot and Ticket Tailor integration. So it's super easy to set one of those up on Ticket Tailor from your box office settings. It's just down here on the left-hand side, custom domain, and you can activate this on your account, and that's how you'd link your custom domain into your box office. So once you've got that set up, you'll be ready to go, and you can track all of your marketing through with Plot. So I hope that answered that question.
Brilliant, thank you. And then the next question, which actually I have to admit I don't know the answer to, but I think Christian does. And that is, what is the reason? So. Well, let's hope so. Sorry, it's how do I find the Google event listing?
Okay, so I guess the simple answer is you can type in Google event listings, and it will actually bring you up something that describes how to get it set up. It can be really easy, or it can be a bit fiddly depending on the platform that you're using. I know things like WordPress have a few Google approved plugins that you can do. One's called Data Highlighter. And I think if you just go into the plugins in WordPress and type in Google event listings, it will have a few of them that you can set up really easily. Otherwise, potentially if you're using something else that doesn't have that plugin set, you might have to get a developer to update the HTML on your site to do that. And then Google can crawl your site, see that it's a listing, put it into its listings API, and then when someone types in your type of event, your location, it will show up prominently in the listings view rather than buried. I should also note that within Plot, we've got this all in there ready to go.
Brilliant. So nice and easy.
Oh, yeah.
And then the next question, actually, I'm going to come straight back to is, I know we spoke a bit about archiving events, and somebody's just asked, sort of, why would you archive them? So I guess that was kind of the SEO benefit, but I'm wondering if you wanted to share a bit more on that.
Yeah, so I think quite a lot of our clients do this now. So if you've got an event running in, let's say 2023, and you've spent loads of time building out lots of great content, lots of great shows and artists and all the information that goes with it, well, you're going to change all that for 2024 most likely. You don't want to kill it, because ultimately that content will have given you search traffic. People searching for shows in that area or particular artists will give you search traffic. So rather than get rid of it, you can archive it, and archiving it is keeping it on the site. So it is still on the site, but you'd put it on a subdomain. So you could put it on festival2023.yourdomain, or you could do it on a / at the end of the domain. And you could link to it from your homepage. So you could see last year, you could have it buried at the bottom or however prominent you want. But ultimately, you're hanging on to that content, which is still bringing in traffic because it's still listed in the search engine. So from a user perspective, they could say, what a great festival. They had these guys playing. Search again. it takes them onto a page that you had live last year at 2023. That isn't on. However, you can then repurpose those pages to point to the 2024 site or relevant artists that you like compared to the ones in 2023. So it's just good to keep all of that information, keep that search traffic, and make best use of it.
It's the same with old for venues and promoters where they have lots of old events. You want them to naturally drop off what's on listings and not really be visible that much. But it's great if those pages still exist because you can have it as historical record. And sometimes it's really nice to just to show off the legacy of amazing things that you put on in the past. And you don't want it to just disappear. So having this kind of like archived artists, archived events on these kind of things is a really nice way to be able to show a bit of history, and also just to let people know that it's been on. Sometimes it's really good to have some of our customers keep them up and then it says this is now a past event, but then they fill it up with imagery from that event so that the event page itself stops being like a commercial vessel and instead becomes something which is like a nice historical record filled with like video and imagery.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think from like a brand reputation perspective as well, it makes people really trust you and rely on being able to see your past events. So we've actually had a really interesting question come in. Firstly, they've said it looks amazing, which is great to hear. And then they've asked that most of their events are sold on Ticket Tailor, but some are hosted externally. Is it easy to add non-Ticket Tailor events alongside Ticket Tailor ones? So I presume that's probably the case for promoters, especially that might be using a few platforms. I wondered if you could kind of go into detail on that.
Sure, yeah. So yeah, we made sure that we've built Plot so that it integrates amazingly with Ticket Tailor so it can just work effortlessly. But it doesn't cause you to be super fixed. Sometimes there are some things that you want to put on the site. So yeah, an external promoter that has some contractual obligation to use a different platform. Or sometimes you have kind of a non-event event showing up, like a picnic that's happening or something that's like not ticketed. So Plot itself has this powerful listing section. It automatically populates from Ticket Tailor, but it also allows you to go in and create an event. And there's some of the ticket pages that we were looking at earlier, some of the individual event pages that we were looking at. You could create those yourself in Plot, completely disassociated from anything else, and they look and feel just the same. And they can sit in your what's on listings just like everything else.
Brilliant. Thanks for that. And then another question that has come through, which I'm actually going to kick off the answer for, was how much time and money will I save with Plot and Ticket Tailor? And I guess it's a particularly difficult one to answer without knowing, the exact fees and volume. But I would say that on the Ticket Tailor website, we have a brand new section where you can really quickly calculate your fees and also compare that to competitors, which is quite handy. But we are kind of the industry leading low price ticketing platform. So I'd like to say it will save you thousands of pounds, but that's completely dependent on your situation. And then I guess similarly for Plot, it might be great for you to share a little bit about the pricing, but I know you've already mentioned that it's a lot cheaper than sort of a regular agency.
Yeah, so I guess there's two things here, which is that we built Plot to be quick to market at a lower cost and to kind of save you a lot of time and money, because ultimately it's not just money, it's time. So our pricing is £3,000, £3,000 for a license for the year. And that gets you everything that Michael talked about. So the build, the hosting, our support, the platform, of course. But if you compare that to what you might pay an agency, not all agencies are the same, but to get a really good quality site, you're paying five or six times, 7 times that. So yeah, I think we've canvassed some of our clients and they save up to 70% of the time in the admin that they used to, which when you turn time into money is a lot of money. And I think the other thing that Plot gets rid of is third-party costs. Again, I sort of touched on this earlier, which is that you see a cost as a cost, and often it isn't. There's a sunk cost, but then there's an ongoing cost. And one of the things we hear about when people move to Plot is that, yeah, they had an agency that was, produced a nice site, but ultimately the features weren't there, and so they were constantly investing more money and having new features and ongoing work, and the costs just mounted and mounted. And I think with Plot, you've got everything for that price. There is no ongoing, there is no ongoing cost, and there's no surprises, and you've got everything you need to save you time and stress.
Brilliant, thank you. And then we've had a slightly long question here that I'm going to try and paraphrase around ticket types. So I guess the question here is, if someone has an event with multiple ticket types, say for example, like an early sign up, one that includes an addition, for example, a dinner, a normal ticket price, the question here is really how can they set that up in Ticket Tailor and that come through to Plot, and can they have kind of like separate pages for it? I think we sort of showed a bit of that in the demo, but it might be nice to just kind of reiterate how simple that is. I don't know who wants to answer that one. Perhaps Rio could speak a bit about ticket types first.
Yeah, so obviously in Ticket Tailor, we've built loads of complicated ticketing features over the years and have various ways to show them. So you can essentially set up whatever you want to sell. Those were some great examples there, like early bird tickets, dependent tickets that can't, like an adult ticket that a child ticket can't be bought without an adult ticket, for example. So that's all easy to set up on the back end. And once it's been set up by you, it'll appear in your checkout. Obviously, people have different ways that they want to market these. So I think this question is sort of asking about how that would translate. In the demo we saw earlier, there were sort of two types. One was an embedded widget where all of the tickets were sort of on a page laid out. And it is possible to create different events for different widgets. So you have a page with just your tickets for that event. And then you can have all of your ticket types in one ticket that just pops out from a button. So there's lots of flexibility on sort of how you embed your checkout into your Plot website. I don't know if anyone wants to expand on that.
Well, I feel like perhaps this is something we could get John's email and we could follow up with him with a quite detailed answer, because there's lots of different ways to cut it. And I think he's also talking about, can you have like deep links into certain ticket types and not have anything else display from Plot? So it might be something we can just follow up in a.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's worth noting that any questions we haven't got round to answering today, we'll follow up with everyone, because I am conscious that we're coming towards the end of the webinar now. So I guess unless there's any questions that anyone else wants to answer before we go, it might be time to wrap up.
John's just confirmed that's what he's asking, so that's good. And we're
Brilliant.
gonna
Great. Brilliant. Well, I think that's all for now. We'll sign off and leave you at this point. As promised, we will send an email shortly after this webinar ends, and in that we will include the recording of this webinar. We'll also include the presentation, because a few people have asked for that since, and we will include the exclusive offer, which, to mention it again, is £300 off your Plot website. And there'll be a link to fill out a really simple type form, and that will basically kickstart the process. And I guess the really exciting kind of selling point of this that I personally think about is the fact that within 7 days you could have an incredible website built for you in your kind of branded look and feel, and it will work seamlessly with your Ticket Tailor ticketing. So I'll leave you on that note, but thank you so much for joining. And if you have any further questions, you can always get in touch afterwards through the chat function on our website. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.